Today we are going to be going through how to deadlift. We're going to go back to the absolute basics with stance, with body position, with back position, with why you need to do it, why you shouldn't need to do it, what to avoid, how to make things easier, how to make things harder, how to set the bar up. We are literally going to go through absolutely everything. I've already got the bar set up, ready to go. We're going to start right from the start, so hopefully this helps. Right then, so I mean for the purpose of today's video, I've already set the bar up, but I mean if we're bringing it right back to basics, we are going to be using just a regular barbell, 20 kilos. Obviously, you've got all different types of barbells you can use. I'm going to show you a trap bar, how to set that up as well today. But for the purpose of this, I've done barbell already. I've put a couple of 10 kilo plates on there, again, just so it's off the floor. But if you're ever struggling setting up the barbell, even in the first place, best thing to do, and actually the thing that I like to do, when removing plates, I like to get over it, take it off the floor with one hand and just shift it like that. But if you're putting plates on, and I'll show you like this, again, easy thing for you to do, get down on the floor, pick it up with one hand, flick up, use the other plate, and just shift it on like so. Obviously, as the weights get heavier and heavier, you know, it should be a little bit easier because it's obviously off and you can give it a little nudge up. But that's what I like to do. So that's number one. Now, when you are approaching the bar for the very first time, what I need you basically to do, obviously make sure that your plates are on to start with. Use a clip if you want it to make it even easier in terms of keeping the plates in position. For the purpose of today, I'm not going to, just because it's going to be too much faff. What I like to see is getting right close to the bar to start with. Shins almost touching it, okay? That's my starting position. I will then actually shift back because when I like to get into position really on this deadlift, I'm going to be moving the bar towards my legs, okay? So get in line first, feet shoulder width apart, probably maybe a tiny bit narrower than shoulder width apart. All the way in, just make sure the shin's touching, like so. Now for my preference, like I just said, I'm getting the bar there in this position here with my hands and then rolling it in. So it's the same thing, but like, you know, each person's got their own way of doing it. So feet are pinned. I've got really flat shoes on today, so I've got some Metcons on, but again, it doesn't matter what shoes you've got. If you're ever unsure when you're doing deadlifts and you want to get a flat foot position, just kick your shoes off and then just drive them into the ground. So feet still, back into position. Now, at this point, always like to have a little wiggle around with my feet just to get a feel for the floor, make sure I'm in position. I have a couple of wiggles around with my hands. The main thing that we're going to be doing with this is driving our bums down to the floor. So we're going to go from this position to there. So if you watch, I almost describe this as, again, coming from a swimming background, I'll always compare it to swimming, like taking your position at the starting block. So you're grabbing the bar with both hands, bracing, bum down, okay? So that's the position you want to be getting into when you start off. So, reset. Bring it all the way back to the front. Coming into the bar. Going down. Have a little flick about. Make sure your hands, again, hands are going to be slightly wider than shoulder width apart because you can't have them right there, otherwise your knees will get in the way. So slightly wider to the side. Bum goes down to there. So I'm bracing, holding that position. If you watch, my knees come forwards to there, my heels are on the ground. If you're someone that struggles getting into this position, this is where you can use elevation on the plates and the barbell to get in there. I'll show you with a trap bar and some different variations we can use in a moment, but again, for this, we'll start here. So we've done all that. We're into position. We've braced to get down. There's no curve in my back, hopefully, because if there's curve in your back, I'm going to try and get into that position for you. You know, if you're there and try and lift it up, all of the weight is going to be going through, I can actually even feel it in my back there now. All of this weight is going to go through your lower back. So that's why you pin your bum down so that the weight goes through your feet rather than your back. And it means then you can work these areas instead. You are obviously going to feel it in your back, like you can't avoid that, but it's not a sharp pain, it's just your back is being used. God, I'm getting out of breath doing this. So anyway, you're pinning down to here. What I want you to do next, you're going to push through your heels. You're going to keep the bar close to your legs, push through your heels, stand up straight, and that's where the bar should end up. pretty much in line. Yep, cool. Plates have moved slightly, but that's unavoidable when I'm wiggling around. So you're done in that position, you're at your standing point. The bar is then going to come all the way back down. Now you've almost got to just mimic that image coming back down. So I'm going to do it just without saying anything to start with. Hear a bit of a clang, and you go again. So watch what I just did there. So it's pinned, heels, drive through your heels, straight line, keeping your bum down. In the exact same way, your bum goes down out first. So if you watch, the barbell's coming down my legs, you're keeping it down, and that's the position I'm getting into. So it's exactly the same, but the opposite. So watch, roll it in, head up, bang. Bum goes out first. Now you're not keeping your legs straight like an RDL. That's where you can then bend your knees. So bum goes out, let it roll down. If it's bumping into your knees, you're sitting back too far, okay? So watch. So if I bump into my knees, it means I'm not leaning forwards enough, okay? Bump down. And that hopefully should start protecting your back a little bit more. Now that's 40 kilos. Clearly I'm very, very weak and I can't do very much, but I would always rather, when you're starting this off, just to start super light. Always start light. There's no point trying to max this out and go for a massive PB and then you wrecking yourself. So give that a go, have that a try. I'm going to pause this now, go and grab the trap bar and get it set up so you can see some variations. Right, so trap bar time. Now, the time, look, unless it's programmed in, then fine. The time is always to use it when it's programmed in. But the time to use this is if you're someone who struggles with getting the depth to start with. Now, what I mean by that is if you're about to start your deadlift and you're going through that brace position, you're getting to there, and you're just really struggling to get low to the floor, and it can happen, especially if you've got long legs or legs that don't fit in the way that the barbell lends itself to. What you can use is use one of these trap bars to basically bring the gripping point. So if you look on this handle, a bit higher. It's the same as using kettlebells. They're going to be higher than dumbbells because they sit higher off the floor. But this is a good way of just making it a little bit easier to get into that position to start with. I mean, it's principally the same thing that you're doing. It's just a slightly different position. Okay, so obviously you've set it up already. Please use clips, otherwise they'll just end up wobbling around. Rather than, I was going to say really obviously, rather than just walking into the trap bar, you have to step up and over on the trap bar. So if you think where the barbell would be, there's that line that goes through the middle. Try and think of it in the same way, all right? You don't want to be over the front of it, over the midpoint, otherwise the trap bar is going to be behind you, okay? So line yourself up, feet shoulder width apart, down into that almost low squat. Again, all exactly the same thing that I'm going to do here. I'm going to pull my bum to the floor. So if you watch, it's bracing down there, so it's down at that position. And exactly the same thing, you're going to drive through your heels, up to there. Now, it will feel slightly different just because there's less height, but it's the same thing coming down. A little bit of bend, I say a little bit of bending, you're going to have to bend, but it's bum out, bend. I much prefer this, so it's far easier for me. Controlling down to the floor. Look at that position, it's exactly the same as where I started. So it's watch, it's bum, good grip of your hands, bum down, eyes forwards, drive through your heels, whoop. Cool, reset. Think about it. Don't just fall straight. Yeah, don't just flop like that. It's here, down, control to there. Cool? One final thing, breathing, when to breathe. It's made it very clear that whilst I was talking and doing it there, I wasn't breathing. And I've just suddenly got to the end of filming, I'm like, I'm dying here. Breathing is especially important, especially when we think about bracing your core. So I'm going to step back into the trap bar here now, just to show you and give you an example of when to breathe and when to hold your breath and kind of almost when to think about taking your breath. So what I like to do, get into position, we talk about bracing. I'm using this as an example. And I think actually the deadlift is a good example, is like the most obvious example of bracing, because without bracing, you're gonna use your back, okay? So brace first. So what I'm gonna do, and I think about bracing as engaging your core and like your trunk, which is everything around here. So brace first. So tense your stomach, squeeze your bum, almost make a bit of a face, like that. That's a good way of thinking about it. So then you're solid. If someone was to push you whilst bracing, you wouldn't move a lot. That's a good way of thinking about it. If you weren't bracing and someone pushed you, you'd just flop, basically. So brace. At that point, normally, you're holding your breath. So it's bracing. Hear my breath? Breath comes right out at the top. Then it's controlling it back down. That's the nice thing about wearing a mic. You can hear when I'm breathing. So it's brace, hold, to there. Okay? So don't forget, you do need to breathe whilst doing this. If you don't breathe, you're going to go very lightheaded. But think of this bracing movement. Again, if someone was to push me and I'm not braced, I'm going to go whoop, like that. Okay? So brace first, get into position, grab the barbell, make sure you're on some starting light weights, pull your bum down, push through your heels, squeeze at the top, make sure you stop and reset each time. That's really important, so you're not just bouncing it up and down. And yeah, that final point is just basically keeping your form as good as you can, so that when you're going down to there, you're not using your back. As soon as you start using your back, probably means you're too tired, you need to stop and give it a rest. But yeah, that's how to deadlift. Hopefully that helps. If there's anything else you need, let me know.